Carlton Rowe, black belt under Keith Owen, via Pedro Sauer. Been doing jiu-jitsu now for 19 years. Had this place open for 17 years. And today, I have one of my purple belts with me.
Hi.
Dylan, go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself.
So Dylan DeWitt, I'm a one-stripe purple belt under Carlton Rowe via the Pedro Sauer Association, Team Rhino affiliate, obviously, as well. I got to throw Keith Owen in there, too, because I've been to a lot of his seminars, a lot of training with him. Definitely more training with him than with Pedro, but still a lot with Pedro as well, luckily.
Considering where we are, right? Considering we're in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah. There's not a lot of places that can say that they've had a coral belt in their gym around here, especially that coral belt. He's the best jiu-jitsu teacher with a heartbeat.
Yeah,
for sure.
Bar none. And I've been lucky enough to share the mats with a lot of great people. And he still, we can go on for hours just about him.
Yeah, we could.
And his methodologies and the way that he teaches and the way that he conveys whatever message it is that he's trying to send. But he's truly one of a kind. And for those of you that don't know, when I say that we're in the middle of a cornfield, we're literally like right out my back, behind our building, 60 feet that way is actually, I think it's a bean field right now because they rotate, but we're surrounded by cornfields.
It's more common to come here and see deer in the driveway and in the parking lot than what it is to not see deer in the drive-in in the parking lot.
That's true. One of these days I should do maybe on this one I'll do a Google image. I'll impose a Google image so they can see. Because we're not your traditional brick and mortar.
No.
We're not. You're not going to find us at a strip mall. That's not
this is the most Dave Ramsey jiu-jitsu gym probably in the country. Everything's paid for out of cash. It's a debt-free gym. It pays for itself.
Yeah, it's nuts.
To the point of us chopping wood to keep it warm.
Right.
Not even because we had to, but because we wanted to.
Right. Help keep the dues down.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely helps keep the dues down. So we talked a little bit about Pedro, and I know you've trained with a lot of people. I've trained with a lot of people, UFC Hall of Famers, UFC champions. So who's somebody that you would like to train with that you haven't trained with?
Ooh, that's good. Man, that's a good question. Because I have a list, right? I have a list.
I think everybody does.
Yeah.
And it doesn't got to be one guy. I mean, just throw some names out there, because I bet a lot of ours are going to be the same.
Yeah, I actually signed up, and I don't know if it's going to happen because of the way that things are going with this particular individual. But I would cut off my own foot to spend time with Hickson.
That's what I was going to say, too. Hickson, you're the man. You're still the man.
Still the man.
And you're the only guy in my lineage all the way up to Grandmaster Elio that I haven't trained with yet.
Yeah.
And you still got a heartbeat. I'd love to share the mat with you, even if it's just bumping shoulders.
Absolutely. Yeah, I signed up, I think it was last year. You can go to his website and sign up for private. And I don't know how the vetting scenario works, but I check my email hourly, hoping that my name gets called. But we know that Master Hickson's going through some health struggles right now, and so I don't know if those days are over. But he's probably number one on my list that I wish that I would have had the opportunity to just be on the mat at the same time with the guy. He is, for most of us, he's why we're all here.
Right.
In some level or another, he's part of the reason that we come down here and we strangle each other. So he's definitely on my list.
We're praying for you, Hickson.
Praying, 100% praying. He's a living legend. Master Sauer's a living legend. We have these guys. The infancy of jiu-jitsu is so unique because we have the ability to still train with our heroes.
Right.
And in other martial arts, they're all dead and gone because it's been around for 2,000 years.
Some of them, they don't even know who their grandmaster was because it was so long ago. It's like before written language was a thing. Yeah. They were karate chopping bricks in half.
Right. So we're lucky in the sense that jiu-jitsu is very much in its infancy, and we can
Yeah.
We have the ability to make contact with these guys. And it's been nothing short of amazing. So I would put him up there. Honest to God, I would love to share the mat with Henzo. I would love to spend time with Henzo. He just seems like he's got an awesome perspective and an awesome approach to teaching, and everything that I've seen on him has just been amazing. I subscribed to his Henzo Online for a number of years, and I just don't think he gets the credit that, I mean, when you come up in the family and you have the likes of Hoyce and Hickson and Hoyler, you have these guys. Henzo, I still don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. I think that he would be awesome to share the mat with.
Yeah.
Henzo would be good. How about you?
So if we're including those who are no longer with us, Elio for sure also, because that would complete my lineage. Yeah. I mean, anything before him is you're just getting into stuff it's kind of complicated. Like, is that even really us anymore, or is it not? Bruce Lee for sure. Also, out of people who are still around, definitely Hickson Gracie. Probably Joel Bowie, oddly enough, because
awesome.
His Falcon Guard thing changed my life. I messaged him and told him that, and he replied to me, so thank you for that. So just to be able to work through that with him would be really cool. Yeah. There's a lot of guys. I mean, that's a pretty broad question for me too. But I was curious if you were gonna say who I thought you were gonna say, and you did. I figured it would be Hickson.
I'll tell you somebody to follow that I think you'll get a kick out of, and maybe you do. But his name is Chris Burns. Are you familiar with him?
No, I'm not.
Follow him, Chris Burns. I cannot remember who he got his black belt under. He got his black belt and then started doing private lessons with Hickson Gracie. And after a handful of lessons, he converted to Hickson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And he's now part of the Hickson Gracie lineage.
Surprise there.
And he gives all of his credit to his instructor for his black belt and so forth. But he will very plainly say that he will follow the Hickson Gracie teachings till the day that he dies. And he's got a lot of good stuff online. He shares a lot of stuff, but he's from Australia. So when he comes over here and gets privates from Hickson, he then will do like a small seminar circuit, and he'll do 2 or 3 seminars before he heads back home. But he's another one that it's a very no-nonsense approach to jiu-jitsu. So his videos are a little rough around the edges, which I like, because he's not like selling himself, and he doesn't have an inflated ego. Like, he's just like, he's straight to the point.
Yeah.
And I just think that if you're not following him, follow Chris Burns, because
I'll look into it. So it's the Hickson Gracie, the self-defense, the practical approach. It's like the art will sell itself.
Yes.
Because it works, so we don't have to be flashy.
He said something. He posted a meme. I think this week, yesterday. Or it couldn't have been this week because it's Monday, but very, very recently he shared a meme, and I believe it was of his instructor, and the meme was, "Our jiu-jitsu changes very little with punches." And I was like, oh.
That's shots fired, right?
Like, okay.
Shots
I see
fired.
where you're going. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But I think that if you admire Hickson, you'll admire Chris, because Chris is definitely he's very 100% pro Hickson, and he seems like a really good dude. And
he must be pretty humble, because if you're a black belt who hasn't trained with Hickson and then you go train with Hickson, I bet you feel like a white belt again.
I bet you do.
If you're a black belt out there and you want to feel like a white belt again, go give Master Hickson a visit, and I'm sure you won't even know how to tie your belt by the end of that lesson.
Exactly. Or you'll question why anybody gave you a belt.
Right.
I believe that, and we've had that with. I mean, you were with me the first time we got to meet Master Sauer.
Yep.
And that was so last minute, and it was like, hey dude, 2 days, we're going to go do this. Who wants to go? And I'm actually looking at the pictures right now.
Yeah, they're right over there behind me on the wall.
We had a pretty decent group, considering we had no time to prepare or anything. And that evening that we spent with him, that kind of did that to me. I was like, what are we doing? Like, are we even doing jiu-jitsu? Because he is his way of instructing and his way of answering every question with such a valid response was just something that I think all instructors, if you haven't trained with Master Sauer, I think it will give you something to strive for, because he's truly one of a kind.
And it was the same way with me. With him, the biggest epiphany that I had with him was he was the guy that made me want to train. So I actually showed up at your house. I was going to ask you if you remembered this.
I do.
I used to lift weights. When I was in college, I was powerlifting, which is hilarious because I do not have a body for powerlifting. I don't have hard, rigid muscle. I have very elastic, very flexible, very jiu-jitsu boy muscle. And I seen a video of Pedro fighting Mr. Omaha,
Mr. Utah.
Utah.
It was Mr. Utah, yeah. Lance.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story is we remember Pedro's name. We don't remember the other guy's name. But the other guy was Jack. The other guy was basically everything that I wanted to be at that time. He was buff. The guy looked like Johnny Bravo in real life. And he fought this little dude, Pedro, and Pedro just torqued him up.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember sitting in the gym watching that video, and I'm like, so I'm lifting all these weights just to get beat up by like a little dude from a third world country.
Yeah.
And I literally came to your house and like beat on your door until somebody came to answer it. Like I wasn't going to leave until I had a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And I bet we talked for probably 2 hours. And that was a really long time ago, 8 or 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. I was seeking MMA training, and you weren't seeking MMA students. Yeah. So I ended up going another direction for a while, but ultimately ended up finding my way back here years later. I showed up here again randomly with no gi. And you told me basically like, if you're not going to put a gi on, I don't want you to train here. And you were saying it not in a mean way, but just like you remembered the previous conversation with me. So I've got 2 feet of hair, so it's easy to remember me. And, I remember how adamant I was with trying to talk you into training me without one and doing the MMA route again. And so I wanted to prove to you that I was ready to do it. Yeah. So I refused to come in the gym. And you were inviting me, and you're like, you can come watch the class. And I'm like, no, like I'm going to show you. Like I'm going to leave. I'm going to buy a gi. Yep. I'll come back with a gi, and then I'll come in the gym. And you're like, no, people train without it. I'm like, but I don't want to wear it, so I will be the guy who trains without it, and then I'll do it a week, and I'm like, well, I did 1 week without it. Right. I'm going to go 2. I'm going to go a month. I'm going to go 2 months, and I'm like, did not want to disrespect you. Yeah. I trusted you as a person way back then to be a coach, like somebody that I could spiritually and physically bow to for leadership, which I think is to me, that's very important. And I wanted to show you that I was willing to do that. Sure. So, but I have a question regarding that story. So when I came, or when anybody, which I don't know if anybody's ever done that before, when people meet you in the parking lot right as practice is starting and tells you, no, I'm not coming in, I'm going to leave, but I'll be back. Did you think I was coming back?
100% no.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
And this was like 2 years after me knocking on his door and basically begging him to train me in MMA. And so that I didn't think that I didn't think you took me seriously. No. Which is another reason that I was like, this guy's gonna, he'll take me seriously. If I show up in a gi, I'm never gonna have to worry about him questioning my willingness to bow to his leadership. Because like if you want to be a part of a gym, you guys, and you're not willing to bow to your coach and follow him, and sometimes even blindly follow him when you think it's the wrong way to go, don't even join. Yeah. Just save your coach the issue. Save yourself the money, really, because you're not going to learn at the same rate that the other students who are willing to submit themselves are going to learn at. It's going to crush you, and it's going to make your insecurities even worse rather than fixing it, which is what this is supposed to do.
Exactly.
Which it has. I've since been able to embrace my skinniness and my flexi boy-ness. Instead of sexy boy, it's flexi boy. Being able to do the splits and sit in a full lotus doesn't get you anywhere in powerlifting or in bodybuilding, but it gets you a whole lot of places here.
Lot of places.
Literally positions you've probably never even heard of. And I want to kind of tack onto the end of that too. When we trained with Gordon Ryan, it was the same kind of feeling of like, man, I felt dumb, but I had an excuse to feel dumb because I think I wasn't a blue belt yet. No. Was I?
No, I don't
No,
think
and I'm in a picture. The picture's right over here too, but we don't look at them a whole lot because they're just they're just on the wall. They're just decor here now. But I felt really, really confused by it. And just because I wasn't ready for it.
And then you have your coach there, me,
right,
who's also confused.
Yeah,
I remember that seminar, and I was like, dude, I can't pull this off.
Because it was so high level, you guys.
It was so high. And to boot, he had a bum knee. Remember? He had
Yeah,
the big knee
yep.
brace on at the time because he
did.
just had surgery. So it was like he was showing us stuff, and he only had one good leg, and I still couldn't mimic it. I still couldn't get through it.
Right.
It was like, what is going on?
And the reason I tacked that on to the end of the Flexi Boy conversation is I'm going into that kind of big-headed because I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, I'm not even a blue belt yet, but out of our whole group of guys that went to that seminar from our gym, I was the one who could touch his toes
Right.
and put my forehead on my knees and do
Right.
all this weird stuff. So I'm like, I think I can do this. And like, no.
Yeah.
Not at all, you guys. Not at all.
Yeah, that seminar was an eye opener for me to be able to train with arguably one of the best that's ever done it, and he was so forthcoming and so nice and kind and soft
He
spoken.
really was. He's a pretty humble guy in
Yeah.
person. If you're not challenging him to a fight, he's nice to you.
Super
Imagine that.
Yeah,
Like,
weird.
right.
If you're not coming for a piece of the kingdom, he seems like a pretty decent guy.
and that's the way you should approach him.
Yeah.
When you go to a seminar, it's the same way. Just submit yourselves to whoever
Yeah.
you're trying to learn from, and you're going to learn the most that way.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about when you come down here and to open yourself up and be vulnerable enough to follow what's being taught and not question everything and to just go, okay, this is what he thinks I should learn today. This is what we should cover today. I'm just going to do it. When you do that and you open yourself up and you make yourself vulnerable, there's many times that I teach something that I'll try to read the room, right? And I'll try to see, like, all right, this person's interested. This person's already seen it.
And you're very good at it.
This person thinks they know it, and then it goes. It's time to drill, and it's like they probably should have paid attention. There's something to be said about, especially as men. As a female, it's different because you're kind of vulnerable because of the nature of the beast that we're in. But as a man, you come down here and your brain tells you, well, I would just do this, or I would just stand up. I'll just punch him in the face. Shut up. Like if you quit fighting what I'm teaching, I promise you at some point in your training, this I'm not teaching you stuff for me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when I run a class, I'm trying to give back. And typically when I teach something, it's because of something that I saw during a previous class. It's like, oh, we probably should address this the next class. So somebody there is being targeted. I'm trying to teach something in a targeted fashion. I'm trying to reach somebody, and not all people have the ability to put themselves in that vulnerable state and go, okay, why do you think I need to learn this? And
Yeah.
Just go with it.
And I do that. I'm guilty of that. You'll show something and I'll be like, there's no way I'm ever going to do that.
Right.
Especially if it's like a size move. I'm not a big fan of using my size because like the Gracies used to teach, if you're going to be in a street fight, the guy's probably going to be bigger and stronger than you. Otherwise, he's not going to try to fight you.
Right.
But on those days, it's similar to anything else. Like when if you're in church, for my churchgoers out there and the pastor's up there talking about something that doesn't apply to you at all, like he's given that to you so you can share it with somebody else who it does. And when I when I got more advanced in belt and like I've been in every position thousands of times, some of them 10,000s of times, it gets almost harder to accept something new because it's like when you're a white belt, it's like I get stuck in side control on the bottom and I can't get out no matter what I do. So when the coach is showing something, how do you get out of that? You're all ears, all eyes, all your senses. But when you're a purple belt and you have 4 or 5 ways to get out, and then all of a sudden the black belt comes in and shows another way, it's really easy for you to be like, oh, well, I've already got a bunch of other ways.
Yeah.
And I try to always work through them anyway, because there's been techniques, believe it or not, where I've watched you do it, and I'm like, I'm not going to like this one. And then I do it, and I'm like, oh, I like this
Where
one.
is that?
Yeah.
You're like,
So
why have you been holding out on me? You could have showed me that already.
right, and there's been other ones where you show it, and I'm like, oh, this one's gonna be awesome, and then I start doing it, and I'm like, oh, maybe not.
This might not be my jam.
Maybe it ain't, but it's still important because the thing is, you can't teach yourself anything new.
Right.
Like those 4 ways to get out of side control that I can get better at those.
Right.
But I can't escape any kind of a different way until somebody comes and introduce something to me that's new.
Yep.
And who better to do that than your coach? You're paying him to do it. It's like if there's something that you're struggling with, it's like if only there was like a guy that I could pay money to teach me how to fight. And,
Right.
Oh, wait.
Weird.
Yeah, I already have that. I've had that for a long time. And, they're trying to do that on those nights that they're showing something that you don't think is going to fit into your game. That's them trying to help you. So,
And I think the part of being an instructor and for teaching as long as that I've taught, we go all the way back, right? Like go back to traditional martial arts. So I've been doing martial arts now for 32 years. So 32 years, 9 months, and some change. And the only reason I know that is I have a countdown timer when I started.
yeah, I've seen it. I've seen you have a poster. Yeah. And I've seen all of it.
It's been, such a huge part of my life forever. What people don't realize is, like, for instance, we give people a hard time for not showing up, right? We have a Telegram group. We see, about time you're made, blah, 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 and we give people a hard time. What those people don't realize is, first and foremost, we love them.
Yeah.
Everybody has to take time off because they have other things going on. Nobody judges you for that. When they don't come, from an instructor's perspective, what they don't get is, it's like, dude, I taught something last night that could have changed your game.
Yeah.
Because as an instructor, we're not just, for the most part, we don't catalog teach. We're not just looking for stuff to teach you guys. Like I said, it's very targeted, it's very directed. So when we teach something, I typically have somebody in my mind, right? So if that's what I'm gonna teach that night and that person doesn't show up, I feel ripped off.
That would suck.
You know what I mean? Because you're constantly, as an instructor, you're constantly giving part of yourself to your students every night. I'm trying to give you guys something, right? So when that person doesn't show up, it's like, oh, dude, I had my heart set to change your life tonight, and you didn't. So it goes beyond just the regular razzing that guys give each other, and that we're constantly, blowing each other shit, and it's deeper than that. If you really break it down and peel away the layers, it's deeper than that. And it's the problem with attendance and jiu-jitsu is, I get it. I wish I didn't. I wish I could just be like, there's no excuse. But there is. Yeah. There's many excuses. There's a lot of excuses.
Especially when you're at a place like this where it's like it's a part-time gym.
Yeah.
Like you have a day job.
Yeah.
Everybody in here has a day job.
Mm-hmm.
I get up at 4 a.m. to go to work.
Right.
So those nights where we're here on a weeknight, a work night, and I'm not leaving until 9:30, like that takes a lot out of you. It really does. But my kind of my motivation is definitely that, mixed with just guys, if you're out there, if you're paying for a gym membership and it's something like this where there's classes, you're essentially burning money when you don't show up. And you posted something, this was maybe like 6 months ago actually. It was like a budget of how much money you're paying per class if you're here every single class of the month versus once a week versus once a month versus twice. It was like a whole budget of like all these different things. And the idea was to like motivate people to not burn their money.
Yeah.
Because I feel like at a part-time gym, they're actually less likely to take advantage of you, in my opinion, monetarily speaking, because their bills are already paid.
Yeah.
At least here, here it's that way. And I've had people ask me if we're a full-time or a part-time gym, and they only train at full-time gyms, and like they wouldn't go to a part. I'm like, why? I'm like, it's literally the best. Like, I have my coach's phone number.
Right.
Like, I help him heat his house in winter.
Right.
And it's, it's just a better, it's a better relationship, I think. But in regards to traditional martial arts too, I got two questions that are going to kind of stretch you, I think.
Okay.
So this one's not as bad because it's kind of a here or there question. But when it comes to takedowns, do you prefer wrestling or judo-based takedowns?
Wrestling.
Really? As a gi guy?
Yeah. So, the reason being is, man, this is a not so hot take.
It's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah. So, quite honestly, the most perfect grappling style for self-defense is wrestling. I hate to say that, but the reason being is, if you're facing somebody who is a lethal striker, somebody who's done it for a couple of years, somebody that's got a really good 1-2 or super good low kick, if you're facing that somebody in an uncontrolled environment, in a parking lot, at a party somewhere, what's more devastating than a double leg up over your head, right? That could end the fight. Judo has that. Judo has a lot of those. A lot of the ippons, a lot of the ogoshis.
Yeah, like Ronda Rousey broke that dude's ribs with a takedown.
Yeah.
So with a judo takedown, I mean.
They have it. Now, the reason that I prefer a wrestling style takedown is because it's not grip dependent. So judo is still very much grip dependent, much like jiu-jitsu is, right?
Most of them. Most of the takedowns are going to be.
So that's why I kind of lean toward wrestling. And I did, listen, I hate wrestling. I can't stand it. I'm too big. I'm too old.
You didn't wrestle in high school even, did you?
I made fun of wrestlers.
Yeah, I thought that.
Yeah.
I didn't think you had wrestled. I think for me, I don't know if I have an answer. I mean, I like doing like weird like Sambo stuff that nobody else does, like the Sambo stuff that works that people in America don't know about.
Yeah.
In tournaments, I usually just pull guard. Right. No shame.
It's a different style.
It really is. And I've not thought of it that way before, but it definitely makes sense. But I found more and more gi guys are saying that the wrestling is better for a takedown. But I think that there's definitely some accuracy to what you're saying. So like wrestling is essentially you're staying on top.
Right.
So it's good for ground defense in a practical scenario. But like that's kind of an unwritten rule in jiu-jitsu too, is like be on top and stay on top.
Right.
Which I struggle with. I struggle with that rule. I struggle with the rule of so be on top and stay on top. I like being on the bottom. I like being on my back. I also struggle with move thyself, but in a different way. Sure. I do it too much of move thyself, like to where I feel like I can never ever move my opponent, even when I can. So
you find yourself shrimping away,
which is part of why some of those techniques that you show, where it's like if there's any kind of power that has to be involved in it at all, a lot of times I kind of tend to shy away from it. But I found a lot of them do work if you use the power with the technique.
Right.
It can still be something that you can do. Move if you're moving yourself properly, your opponent should move really.
Yeah.
So also regarding with traditional martial arts, what's your favorite martial art that isn't jiu-jitsu?
Ooh. Shit.
That's a good one too, huh?
That's a real good question. That's unique.
Did I stump you that time?
Dude, because everything that I do, say, watch, and speak about is obviously jiu-jitsu. I would have to say, it's going to be a kicking art, so it's going to be either Muay Thai. To be honest, dude, like, again, not so hot take. Taekwondo, dude.
Yeah, I was trying to hold my laugh until you got it out because I didn't want to block that in the mic, but so, I'm staring at his Taekwondo black belt that's behind him, and there's because it saved your life.
It did, and there's something to be said about the structure that a modern day martial art has, and they've truly capitalized on the bringing in kids programs, and they know what pays their rent now. While I have a very bleak outlook on training Taekwondo for a long period of time, because I do believe at some point and at some age it becomes a waste and it becomes false confidence. So the best thing that I got from Taekwondo was my footwork. And anytime we do stand-up sparring, people get to experience my footwork. Yeah. So my problem with Taekwondo is that they're putting black belts on 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds, and they're teaching this black belt that he is a black belt. And it's like, dude, you're setting this kid up for failure.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
But if a kid, I mean, in my opinion, I think if a kid does Taekwondo like through puberty, they're going to have good balance the rest of their life. And your kick control, you're one of the only people that can kick me in the head and it don't hurt me.
Right.
When we're sparring. And it's full and like I can't, it's quick.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it don't hurt. And I can do that to people too, but it's not as fast as you. But I just have the flexibility. I don't have the Taekwondo black belt or any kind of like a stand-up background other than the kickboxing and stuff that we do here. But for me, I think it would be somewhere between Muay Thai and just traditional kickboxing.
Okay.
I feel like I would prefer Muay Thai, but there's really no like good way to train it. Like there's no, and they have elbow pads and knee pads, but there's no way to eat an elbow or a knee to the face and have it not hurt. Whereas with traditional kickboxing, we can punch and kick each other
all day,
and it doesn't hurt us.
Yeah.
Especially if you're flexible enough to control your head kicks. Like if you're out there and you can kick somebody in the head, but you can't control it, maybe don't do it in sparring.
Right.
Might be a good way to get beat up for real. Especially if you're a new guy.
Yeah.
So definitely know your role with that. But yeah, I guess those responses don't really surprise me.
Sure. I don't know if I've ever been asked that, to tell you the truth. I don't know if anybody's ever.
It's a pretty hard one.
That's a hard one, and it's because of jiu-jitsu culture. So when you go down this rabbit hole for as long as we've been down it, and jiu-jitsu has its flaws. It's like nobody's naive to that, but when you have the background that I have, and you came up traditionally, it's so the flaws are so obvious afterwards. So, my mom and dad, they because I was young, I was youth, they funded everything, all my trips, all my competitions, all my testings. And I look back on that, and while I'm appreciative of it, I think, holy cow, that place was making a fortune. They had 200 students at the time. It's purely a cash grab. So, like,
instead of a McDojo cash grab, it's like the whole martial art is that way, I think.
Yes.
But I've seen, there's actually, like, Taekwondo places that are, like, they will black belt you and then start training you in something else.
Right.
So
very common.
Now it is.
Yeah.
But back then when you were what years were it? When you got your Taekwondo black belt, what year was
96.
it? 96. Yeah. So that was, I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot of MMA going around at all.
When I got my
Maybe
black
in Japan,
belt,
but not here.
Yeah, not here. So 96, that was 3 years after the first UFC. So we were still waiting 8 months to a year for VHS tapes to hit the rental stores.
And I don't even think they called it MMA. It was just cage fighting.
Yeah.
For like the first while. I don't think they called it MMA until the 2000s trickled around.
You know who coined that? You know who coined
I have no idea.
Big John McCarthy.
Makes sense.
He was I believe he was at, the story goes, they were trying to introduce some legislation. They were trying to get it. I can't remember what state was giving them a hard time.
All of them.
And he was at one of the hearings, and he used the term mixed martial arts or MMA, and everybody was like, "Well, that's it. That's what we're calling this." And he'd been a proponent and trained with the Gracies for years prior even to the first UFC, which is part of the reason they chose him as a ref, is because he knew what to look for.
Yeah,
but
you have to know fighting to be a referee for fighting.
Yeah. And he was one of the very few early ones that had the knowledge on the ground. So he was instrumental in helping try to introduce legislation and get laws passed and get the permits. But he's the one that coined mixed martial arts.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's done a lot for the sport.
Yeah.
And I don't really like calling it a sport. I mean, I guess MMA is kind of a sport, but I mean, we're more of a practical self-defense.
Yeah.
Kind of people, I guess. So I don't know if I like calling it a sport too much, but you have to turn it into a sport when you're trying to legitimize doing it.
You almost have to.
And it's really hard if you're writing legislator to the president and you're like, yeah, bro, please let us legally do cage fighting.
Right.
then it sounds like something that should be illegal. It's like it sounds like a prison fight mixed with a dog fight, and it's like
there's a reason John McCain didn't like it.
You know what I mean? Right. There for sure is.
Yeah.
So there's a trend it's not as popular now. I haven't seen as many people doing it, but this is something I feel like would be right up your alley, and I'm curious if you've ever thought about doing it. So have you ever seen the videos where a black belt will go to a new gym as a visitor and pretend like he's a white belt?
Yes.
Have you ever thought about doing that?
Yeah,
because that would be hilarious. I want to be there if you do.
That would be a blast. That would.
I'd be like, yeah, guys, I'm a purple belt. I brought my friend. Like he's a little slow, you know, but just be patient with him. You know, he might learn something,
right?
And then just watch you just tear these people up.
That would totally be a blast. I think the last one I saw do that was Tim Kennedy.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's like holy cow.
And it's weird. We're living in times where Tim Kennedy is like has enough age on him that he can walk into a dojo and people don't know who he is by looking at him. Because like if he came in here and tried to pretend that like he's not,
sorry, bro,
we would be like bowing down to him like I'm the man.
You're teaching class tonight, dude.
Yeah, like okay, everybody say hi to the new coach.
Yeah, exactly. But I've seen videos in the past where people have done that, and it's it does not rub me the wrong way in the least. I think it's hilarious.
I think the biggest problem for us doing it is I feel like a lot of places would take it the wrong way. Like they take it as like an insult.
Right.
And to walk in and like be recording, they would know something is up.
They would know. Yeah.
If we were in Detroit or, maybe it would be different because people probably go in there and record their workouts more often.
Right. But to watch those people like fake not knowing how to shrimp and fake not knowing how to do judo rolls.
Slap, bump, and just, they go Super Saiyan.
What in the hell?
Yeah.
That's pretty comical. I love that shit.
Yeah, that's something that I could definitely see you doing, but it would have to be at the right gym for sure. And I don't know, I can't even think of one that would be, because any gym that we would know that would take it as a joke already knows who we are, and they're already going to know who you are. Like they're going to know when you walk in. But so I got another one that's pretty personal.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to want to even answer this.
Give it to me.
If you could pick two people who have trained here that have quit, that you could pick two of them that they would not have quit, who would they be?
First one, Steven.
Yeah, I seen that coming.
I miss my friend.
Me too.
So for those of you that don't know, Steven's a blue belt. He helped me unselfishly for 6-7 months get ready for my purple belt. And then on the eve of that testing, came down with COVID, wasn't able to travel with us, so he had to back out. So Steven has given me a lot. That dude is awesome. I love Steven. Steven Lester, for anybody wondering. Just in case there's more Stevens and you might think it's you. It's Steven Lester.
Yeah.
He was such a good...
You know who you are, bro.
You know who you are, dude. He was such a good training partner. He had such awesome mat etiquette. He came down and wanted to sweat and he approached jiu-jitsu with a very good mindset. Yep. He didn't think he was better than anybody, but he tried his hardest, and he's easily, as you were wrapping up that question, I knew that I was going to answer with Steven. So that one was easy. That one was obvious and even is super easy for me to come up with. The second one, however, is a little bit different.
Oh boy.
And this one might shock some people, because we've had, in 15 years, 16 years that we've been open, we've had a lot of people come through the door, and a lot of people that I thought, wow, 2 years from now, they're going to be a handful, and you've seen those people too.
Yeah.
And then they disappear in 2 months, and you're like, well, there you go. And then you have people that come through the door, and you're like, yeah, this is not for them. And they stick around, and you're like, man, I love jiu-jitsu because of this. Because you can never put money on who's going to stick around or not.
Yeah, for sure.
So the second one, I'm going to throw this name out there, and it's the same timeline as Steven. But if I could wave a magic wand and have Michael back, I would.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Michael he's also a blue belt. Is there a pattern here?
Yeah.
He's also a blue belt.
Shots fired again.
He was one that came down with a Taekwondo background. He just wanted to see what jiu-jitsu was all about. Stuck around pretty solid for a handful of years. And then life happened, and he had to part ways, and he had to move for work and got married, and just life happened. And I don't hold it against him for not being here, but man, if I could do something to get Steven and Michael back,
Yeah.
like, can you imagine? Like, because they were both so game, and they both brought different skill sets to the mat, but they were both so much fun to train with.
Yeah.
So if I could bring those two back, that would be it.
Michael's another one of those guys. He can kick you in the head soft.
Yeah.
And that's if you're
Yeah.
6 foot tall. I'm 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
You're 6'3".
Yep.
So yeah, he could kick us in the head. We can
Yeah.
kick each other in the head and poke. And I mean, a super flexible guy,
Yeah.
more flexible than me, way more flexible than me. I miss Steven a lot too. Steven, you're my favorite role. You're still my favorite role, bro, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he was stronger than me, but he
Yeah.
never used it unless he had to.
Unless he had to.
And
Yep.
I was able to get to a point where I could get him and I could anticipate, like this is when he's going to kick it up, and
Yeah.
I have to shut it down
Right.
before he kicks it up. And like being able to use like my quickness, and like the chess match got more intense
Sure.
with him than anybody else that
Yeah.
I had. Cause like when I was controlled by him, I wasn't like maliciously controlled or like in pain. Like there was never like an elbow being drove into your temple,
Right,
or a shoulder
right.
being drove into your trach, unless he's
Yeah.
if you're trying to guillotine him and he's that. I mean, there's obviously times where stuff would happen, but even in stand up, even in kickboxing, he was one of my favorite guys to
Yeah.
go with. I was
Yeah.
just longer enough than him that I could tag him and get out,
Yeah.
but he was better at it than me.
Right.
So he could time it right. And so I knew, whenever I went with him and it ended, and like, I used to love it. Like I used to, after class was over, I'd be like, Steven, one more roll, like every time if I
Yeah.
didn't get to roll with him.
Yeah, he was awesome.
But life does get in the way, like a part-time gym, especially. And if I could bring anybody back, it would definitely be him. Also my other one, Michael's is a really good one too,
Yeah.
actually.
Yep.
But if I could bring back two, it'd be Steven and it would be Brooke.
Yeah.
And that's going to make a lot of sense to
Yeah,
you
yeah.
because of my timeline, where I came in at. She was a girl that was 5 foot, 130 pounds soaking wet,
Right.
Probably 125 or less, actually.
Yeah.
And when I came in as a white belt, she was a blue belt, and she would tear me up. But she would let you work. I mean, she always let me work, and whatever I submitted her with, we would slap bump, and then she would do whatever I just did to her, but she would like pour it on.
Yeah.
And then it would reset, and we'd slap bump again, and then she'd be chill again and let me do kind of whatever I wanted, and then I would submit her, and then she would, whatever I did to her,
Yep.
she would then try to do to me, and that was a really good one too. And I never got to a point, I don't think, where I was actually able to shut that down when she was pouring it on. And then
Gotcha.
she left because
Yeah.
life got in the way. So
Yeah.
like if I could roll with anybody
At blue belt.
it would be her. At blue belt, I would want like me, maybe not me now, cause I'm way past what I was as a blue belt, but if I could have had like me as a blue belt versus her as a blue belt, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
And I think I was kind of chasing that to make myself feel worthy of a blue belt, and then she disappeared.
Sure,
So
sure.
it was like I didn't really have that kind of collateral, but that first Pedro seminar actually made me feel like I was ready for my blue belt.
Gotcha.
Because I wasn't ready for it yet, and I figured the Gordon one would make me feel ready for it. It didn't. It made me feel more. It made me feel more like a white belt than anything I've ever done, probably. But yeah, I miss them. If I could be selfish and have two people that I would have kept, those would have been my two.
That makes sense. I get it. That's the shitty thing about being in such a small school. Like if you're in a school with 200 students, people come and go. You may not notice.
Yeah.
But here you develop relationships with
And
people.
I wonder if people at a big school even have a favorite role.
Right.
Because, I mean, you could go to school every day for a month and roll for 6-7 rounds, and it's a different person every single time.
Every class.
That would be really weird.
That'd be weird. Like we know the intricacies. We have an intimate level of knowledge of each other. Like we know so and so's got this hurt. We know so and so doesn't like this. We know.
yeah.
It's
And we work
cool.
around it.
Yeah.
We work around the injuries so people can still roll when
Yeah.
they're hurt.
Yeah.
And when appropriate, we tell them, no, I'm not going to roll with you. You're too hurt.
Right,
Like,
right,
I'm not going to hurt you further. But yeah, I think that there's advantages and disadvantages to that also. Like, I feel like it can sharpen your game more.
For sure.
Even,
Yeah.
because they all know what you're going to do.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and that's the advantage of like when we travel or when we go to, to headquarters specifically, when we get out to Idaho and we roll with, for me in particular, I may roll with 10 people that know me, but I don't know them. Right? Like I have seen their pictures, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then it's like, oh shoot, like what are we doing here? Holy cow. So it down here with the group that we have and how everybody knows each other and the family that we've created through jiu-jitsu, we tend to take care of each other, right? I want you to come to class the next day.
Yeah, for sure.
So
even when we're punching and kicking each other, it's the same way.
Yeah. So
I never feel more bad than when I hurt somebody.
Right.
I never feel more bad than
And
when
it could
that
be
happens.
the biggest fluke. It could be the biggest freak accident. And it's like,
Yeah.
they might have done it to themselves, and it's still like, dude, I am so sorry.
I remember we were doing kickboxing, and I was sparring with Keegan, and I did a head kick, and my toe went into his eye.
Oh my God.
And I felt so bad, and
Yeah.
I ran for you because you were sparring with Wendy, and she's a first responder, so
Yeah.
I made like a beeline.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I put my toe in his eye, and you're like, you do what? You put what in his eye? Like,
Well, that's rude.
and yeah, I felt so bad for that. And I hurt Scott's elbow once. This was a long time ago. So long ago, I don't remember my rank or his rank at the time, but I mirror locked him, and it hurt his elbow instead of his shoulder.
Yep.
And he was out for like a month, and then we rolled. The very first day he came back, I mirror locked him again and hurt his elbow again. And then I felt really, really bad. And then I didn't roll him for like a year after that.
Yeah.
And he quit putting his hand down. But I was like, no, like that shouldn't be. You should want to not put your hand down because you've learned the lesson. But like I shouldn't have to injure you for you to learn.
Right.
The technique is there.
Yeah.
Like I felt so bad for it,
Yeah.
And almost to the point, like I would rather have somebody else hurt me by accident than me hurt them by
Absolutely.
accident.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Because
can
there's no like mental or emotional guilt. It's just physically painful.
Damn it.
And then everyone caters
home
to
and
you
get
for a
ice.
while. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nice. You're kind of spoiled when you're injured around here.
Yeah, you really are.
You get to do whatever you want to whoever you
They
want.
spoon feed you, and I'm gonna start faking injuries. Screw it. I don't have to fake it. Half the time I'm just injured.
Right.
But so when it comes to, so how long have you been a part of the gym?
I started consistently here in the gi 2017.
17. So you were through COVID. You went through everything with us. You were.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I was around for like the tail end of the Wild Wild West days,
Right.
But you and the other instructors were all on second shift, so class was at like 8 or 9 in the morning, and I was the
Right.
first shifter. So like I got a contract. I would come here. I would roll with people that I literally would come here to lift weights, and when other people did come in here, I would ask them like if they were training, and if they said yes, I'd ask them for their phone number, and I would text with them and come down here and do some rolling, but it never really stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I went away and continued on my path of seeking, another gym. And when I finally came back and we had that conversation out there, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go inside until I put a gi on. And I could read on your eyes. You're like, this guy's going to disappear in 2 or 3 more years. He might come back. And then he's one of those guys, and then, that conversation, I actually came back. It was either the end of 2016 or the beginning of 2017.
Gotcha.
So I think I will care more about the timeline when I get a black belt than what I do right now.
Are you keeping track of it now? Because like you saw my poster, how I
No,
have the dates.
I'm really not. I mean, I have a cheat code. I have seminar pictures.
I've got a list of when you get your dates too. So if you
but what we don't have a seminar picture of is my first class. But we have a picture of my first seminar. But I think I was already a 4-stripe white belt. But I kind of blew through the stripes because I had a little bit of a no-gi background.
Yeah.
But I didn't train officially under anybody. This is the only lineage I've ever had. It was literally just me and a bunch of buddies would grapple and try to like figure stuff out. Like we would watch MMA. And it was like a group of us that we all decided that jiu-jitsu was the best martial art because Hoist Gracie did it and beat everybody. So we were like, we're going to basically like, we're going to fight each other, but no striking. Like anything goes, but no striking. And that's what we did. And that just working the pedals, I was able to learn, you know, enough that it definitely helped me get stripes on my belt. But you can only get so far doing that. Yeah, for sure.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. And like I said earlier, I can only sharpen the stuff I already know. I can't learn anything new unless somebody comes and gives it to me, really.
Right.
And YouTube just doesn't work that well. When you're a purple belt, like when you're a white belt, I think you can go on YouTube and if you have the discipline as a white belt to look at basic techniques, which no white belt does, they all look at the crazy off the walls 10-year long stuff. I think you can, but as a purple belt, I really don't think there's any like simple thing that I've seen on a video in recent history that I seen and was like, oh, I can do that, and was actually able to replicate it here because I've just already done so much stuff. Not to say that I've learned all of it, because you never learn all of it. And I think that's another attraction why this is my favorite martial art, because this is arguably the only one that never ends. And it's more so I've always looked at jiu-jitsu as like a relationship martial art, and the other ones are kind of like religion martial arts. Sure. And like doing jiu-jitsu and like being a jiu-jitsu guy makes me more Christ-like, because jiu-jitsu never ends. It's like God. It's like your walk with God and your walk with jiu-jitsu are similar in that it never ends. You never learn all of it, ever. And the people who say they learned all of it get booed. I remember the one guy's like, I learned everything there is to know about jiu-jitsu. Now I'm going to go learn Muay Thai. And this was a speech he gave. Everyone was cheering him, everything he said, until he said that. And then everybody booed him. And it literally never ends. And you have hollow belted people like there's a story in the gospel. It's the 7 sons of Sceva. They're going around and they're casting out demons in Jesus' name, but they say in the Jesus that Paul preaches about's name is what they are saying. And then they come across an actual demon in a house one day, and the demon, looks at him and he says, well, I know who Jesus is and I heard of Paul, but who are you? And he jumped on them and beat all 7 of them so bad that they ran out of the house bleeding and screaming and naked. And I'm like, there's hollow belted people, in this faith. People get religious and they get hollow belted and they chase a belt and they chase the title, just like in faith. Like people will chase the title of being a pastor or being whatever when they don't have the anointing to back it up. And it's like your skill is your anointing, and like my gym is my church, my coach is my pastor. And it's really, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it, just like anything else.
And you touched on people chasing the belt. That is such a huge part of what we do, right? It's such a huge part of, especially our culture here. We have literally been the slowest growing rank gym in the world because we just don't care.
And
it's like when it happens, it happens.
And I think that's part of why I don't track my belt. And I'll never forget, like Keith Owen, rest in peace, brother. When I got my blue belt, and we were blessed by our coach. He bought me and Wendy and Scott, right? The 3 of us got our purple belts together. And he bought all of us a private session with Keith Owen, like to share. And it was right after we tested. So we were sweaty, and everything. Or no, this was my blue belt. I'm sorry. I said purple belt. I'm referring to my blue belt. And so what's your questions? Because private lessons are question and answer. We didn't know we were getting this. This was a surprise gift. So we're all sitting there dumbfounded and with nothing. And so our coach is like, well, how about this? You're told Keith, you're like, these are all new blue belts. Like, what's your advice to fresh blue belts? And I'll never forget this. He looked at all of us and he said, quit now. And we're like, what does that mean? And like, we're too wore out to like be clever and understand it. And he had to explain it. And he's like, if you're looking for an advice as a blue belt, then quit.
You're doing it the wrong way.
Because you should just be looking for jiu-jitsu advice regardless of where you are in your journey. And he's like, don't look at it as a belt, because like when you get to black, it's the end. So are you going to quit?
Right.
And it's, if you look at it that way, black is the end, but in reality, black is like the beginning. And it's like your ascension. That's like when you're the most like your lineage, you're the most like God. And it's like when you get to heaven is really when it really, really starts. Like your relationship with him starts down here when you're saved, just like your relationship with jiu-jitsu, it starts when you start training. Yep. But when you get your black belt is really when it's at its most intimate level.
And, I had a conversation with Professor Owen one time, and we were talking about the obviously the blue belt curse and how that's kind of, now it's purple belts and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And we talked about, I said, well, that drops off though. Like when people get their black belts aren't quitting. And he goes, I know more black belts that don't train than I do black belts that train.
And
I was like, what are you talking? You are lying. And he's like, no, I know way more black belts that have quit. And, for me, the last year and a half, almost 2 years of being a black belt, I've tried in other podcasts to put this into perspective, and I can't. They're not kidding when they say black belt is the beginning. Everything else leading up to it is fun. But once you get your black belt, you look at it and you absorb it in a completely different way. It is completely different. And I still haven't been able to find the words for it.
And I try to look at it that way. And I try not to look too forward to belt promotions. Like I celebrate them, and guys, you should celebrate them. But I think if you put too much emphasis on the promotion, then once you get the black, it kind of becomes a dead hobby for you.
Right.
If you're just getting
what are you chasing now?
You're right, exactly. Nothing. And I mean, chances are if you're a gringo running a part-time gym, you're probably not going to get a coral belt.
Right.
Right. So, or myself, a gringo training. I'm not even running a gym. I'm just a gringo training at a part-time gym. And it's like, I'm okay with it. I mean, I really am. Obviously, I want to be a black belt, and I've celebrated every rank I've gotten. But I've always came to you and asked for your blessing every time. Because I entrust you. Like I have that ability with you. I wouldn't do that with everybody. Like there's definitely other gyms out there where it's like I can't submit myself to this guy. And like I know that if you tell me I'm ready, even if I feel like I'm not. And I know if you tell me I'm not ready, even if I feel like I am. Because the heart's deceitful.
It is.
And you are like, it's like when you're watching football and it's like, man, the guy ran to the left. There's 3 people. He should have ran to the right. There's nobody. Well, you can't see that when you're in the helmet. And this is all. And that's like jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Because like when I'm on the mat and I'm getting destroyed, I feel like, I don't even deserve to have a purple belt. Or when I'm on the mat and I'm winning, that's all I see is I'm winning. So it's like I should be a brown belt right now. Like why am I still a purple belt? But you are like the audience, like at home, where like you can see all of it, where it's like he should have went this way instead of that way, and it's like he's gonna get that if he goes that way, but the whole time he's ignoring this, and it's so nice to have like that trust, and I think I attribute a lot of that to my longevity. I think having the right instructor, and so other people probably think it's silly, like they just. It's just a sport to them, and they don't really care who's teaching them. But I really do. I care about who's teaching me.
And it's funny because most people won't get to where you're at in lengthwise and in rank. I mean, statistically, like we have the numbers to back it up, right? Like right now we have a lot of purple belts, but that's not always been the case, and it won't always be the case. You're like the blue belts. So we post pictures of all of our blue belts. We post pictures of all of our purple belts, brown, and then our lineage. And to be honest, we're not. I mean, right now we're heavy on purple, but the majority of the people will not get to purple.
Oh no, not at all.
It's just statistics. It's just how it is.
Here, statistically, more white belts have quit than anything else, obviously.
For sure.
But out of ranks, here it's still a blue belt curse. I mean, around the world, it's purple statistically, I guess. But I don't think that it's anything I'll ever stop, and I think being a part-time guy helps with that, because the guys who do push and are trying to chase belts end up quitting before me.
Yeah, they get burnt out, hurt.
Right, I've seen it happen. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, sometimes it's almost like I can tell what guys, and I'm sure you can, because you've been around it way longer than I have, But I can almost tell at this point where it's like, yeah, this guy's chasing something, like he's going to get his belt and he's going to leave.
He's going to leave. Or he's going to get frustrated that he doesn't get his belt and then leave.
Right. But the thing is, and it sucks because sometimes maybe I'm wrong sometimes, but if I read someone's just chasing the belt, I won't train them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to.
I won't, because
it's hard to spoon feed them.
It's like a waste of time,
Yeah.
and I am not getting paid to do it.
Right.
So it's really a waste of my time, because it's like, man, it's like I just got this. Well, maybe not now. I got a stripe now, but when I first got my purple belt, and all these guys, even the people that I felt were gonna stay forever, I was like, I don't want to help you right now. Like, I just got this, and so the people that I felt weren't going to stay, I'm like, there's no way.
Right.
There's no way I'm going to waste time on that.
Yeah.
And there's room for error there. Like, if I read it that they are chasing a belt and they're actually not, and then I don't, but I don't know that I've ever been wrong, but it's something that I worry about, because I'm like, what if that would have happened to me? Because when I started, I feel like I was kind of chasing blue, because I had like the no-gi background.
Right.
So I felt like a lot of the stuff I already knew. And in our curriculum, like the white to green curriculum, I knew all of it. I didn't learn anything new. It was just learning the order the stuff went in, and learning intricate details. But like, I could read the moves on a paper. I know what all of them are, but everything after that, it was new.
Right.
So it was like, I didn't, when I first came, I didn't like wearing a white belt. I didn't feel like I was a white belt, but I really was. And that just goes to show more of like I feel like I'm winning. I feel like I'm doing good, because I was able to submit all the other white belts at the time that were here. But I mean, submitting them really isn't everything.
It's not, and so the misleading part of jiu-jitsu is, let's say you get, and we've seen this in the past, not here, but like when I first started, you would get people that had wrestled for 12 years, and they would come down and they would control everybody. And like in my head, I'm like, how is that dude a white belt? Well, he's 260 pounds of solid muscle. He's been a collegiate athlete. He's wrestled for 12 years. He's got cauliflower on both ears, but he's a white belt. For a long time, I had a hard time understanding that, until I got like the third stripe on my white belt, and I realized he's really effective on the ground, but he doesn't know jiu-jitsu.
Well, those guys are one-trick ponies.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I'm like, wait a minute. So it took me a long time to understand that. And every once in a while, we'll get somebody down here that's, hyper effective and hyper athletic. And it's like, dude, if you just slowed down, and if you just took the time to learn and listen, in 2 years, we're going back to that, right? Like, how many people have we seen that it's like, oh my God, in 2 years, this person is just going to be a monster.
And for sure. And a lot of those guys, I mean, because they chase the belt or they chase the W, which is even more crazy than chasing a belt.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it. I used to do it when I came in as a white belt. I was able to smash the other white belts, but these blue belts were killing me.
Right.
Because I was trying to do to the blue belts what I was doing to the white belts, and there's nothing. I mean, I couldn't do a damn thing.
Yeah.
And then one day I just showed up and was like, okay, I'm not doing it that way anymore.
Right. I'm running into a wall. This isn't
right.
helping.
And
Jiu-jitsu is a funny way of doing that to people.
Well, it was like, dude, I'm frustrated. Like, I put the damn gi on. I paid $150 for this stupid thing. Now I'm here. Now I'm gonna do. Yeah. I'm gonna smash people now. And I did, like, the guys who didn't know what was going on.
Right.
So like, oh yeah, good job, bro.
Yeah.
And then these blue belts were just killing me and not even breathing out of their mouth when the round was over.
Right. Smiling the whole time.
Yeah. And I don't think I have a natural talent for it. I really don't. I mean, I have a natural talent for being flexible, but I really don't think I have a natural talent for jiu-jitsu. I think I've just built skill over time.
Yeah.
But there are guys who do come down here that do have talent, and they're usually the ones that don't stick around.
Right. It's crazy to me. And
it's a shame, because it's like I'm jealous of that.
Yeah.
It's like, if I had what you had, and it's like the old saying of like, hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard. And being able to, overcome those guys through them being absent is also, it's like, well, because it's like I know when I roll with people, I especially around the time of getting my blue belt, it's like, okay, like, these guys, these guys are talented.
Yeah.
You know, these ones that I can't, there's nothing I can do to catch them,
Yep.
but one day maybe I will. And then when I did catch them, but it was because their lack of attendance over a long period of time. I'm not saying if you miss one class, I'm going to be better than you.
Right.
I'm saying these dudes would disappear for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and then come back. And then I would be able to best them. And, but in my head, it was so unrewarding because it's like, they're watered down. It's like a watered down version of themselves that I'm overcoming. So it's like stealing that, mountain climb effect. But I try now not to like put that on myself as much. It's not something I should put on myself.
Sure.
Like I try to look at myself as like, I am like the lowest tier purple belt here. That's what I tell myself every time I come in, because I do want to celebrate the victory. I have this, so like I'll give myself credit where credit is due. Yeah. But once I have this little bit of credit, it's like I'm going to humble myself. And if I get smashed by everybody in here, I really don't care.
Yep.
It don't matter to me anymore.
When did that change happen for you? Like what rank? Because I have a theory, but I didn't. When did you identify it? I
would say mid blue.
Yeah.
Because when I got my blue belt, I was happy I was a blue belt, but I didn't like being a virgin blue belt. So basically like a virgin belt is when you have the belt and you don't have any stripes. Cause like there's a meme that floats around that there's a 4-stripe white belt next to a 1-stripe or a no stripe blue belt. And it's like, what's the difference? And it's like, there is none. There's no difference. And I felt that way, you know, before seeing that meme, I felt that way. And then finding that meme in that time made it worse.
Yeah.
I was like, so I'm like, I have to work. I have to push.
Sure.
I got to push and I got to work. And, once I got that first stripe, it was like, okay, like that's a little bit better, but I'm not satisfied with that. Mm-hmm. And once I got my second stripe, I'm on my blue belt. I feel like then it was like, okay, now I'm actually a blue belt now. Like you can't say that a 2-stripe blue belt is the same thing as a 4-stripe white belt.
Right.
But the crazy thing is, guys, who was saying that? Me inside my head and a meme. People like, I don't even know who made that meme. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's so dumb. It got inside my head and my age, I think had something to do with it. I was in like mid-20s at the time and just having like, you know, too much to prove to myself, I think. And now I think second blue on, I think I didn't care as much. And then it kind of went, when I was training to get this, I did kick it up a notch. Towards the end of blue, I'd kicked it up again, but it was a healthier kick up.
Yeah.
Here we do attendance and curriculum and instructor's approval, or I do instructor's approval. I always asked, and there was a stigma of people come and they want to just test because of their time. Mm-hmm. So we had to have, had to have a speech multiple times. You had to come in and preach to the whole congregation about how if you're coming up on a belt, but you're not rolling like you're that belt, I'm not going to give it to you. And it's basically a really nice way of saying, like, if you don't have my approval, I'm not going to give it to you. But you can't, unfortunately, you can't just come and say, if you don't have my approval, I'm not going to give it to you, because not everybody has the same attitude as me. Right. But everybody here who has color has that attitude. Yep. Everybody. And if you don't have that attitude, you're not going to get color in this gym.
Nope.
I'm telling you that right now. I've experienced, like, he don't even have to waste his breath. Like, just hear it from me. And so, when you gave that speech was when we were 4-stripe blue belts.
Right.
So it was like, and luckily, your daughter was here, and I piped up to you. I'm like, okay, but like, you know, for us, like, I'm not supposed to just like smash people like, oh yeah, I'm going to roll like a purple belt today and then just go destroy. And your daughter was sitting next to me and I'm like, and I like went like this to her and she got scared and you're like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, don't do that. But that speech wasn't for me. But I didn't know if it was or not at the time. I was like, oh, okay. Like, because I cooled off, right? So I hit my second stripe and I cooled off, and then you said that. Yeah. So I had a little bit of insecurity of like, oh, is he talking? Because I relaxed. Like, I've been relaxed like these last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So like, maybe that was for me.
Well, I can tell you this much. We noticed, the gym collectively noticed you changed right before and right after purple. So you used to, like, you would come down, and so I tell everybody, like, if you want to go hard with me, right? Because I'm the biggest, highest rank here. I'm larger than most. Like, I can handle it, right? You used to be, like, we would grapple, and I would try. So I have this with Derek, not because Derek's mean, but because Derek's my size. And so I try to stay away from Derek, like, the first round, because I'm tight and everything hurts, right? So
Yeah.
you used to be one of the ones that I would try to stay away from my first round. Because it was like, my God, what's he trying to prove to me, right? Like, it felt like that. It was, but like, if I could get you second or third round, you were looser, you were more warmed up, and you were just ready to grapple. But like first or second round, I tried to stay away from you. It was like, Dylan is on something tonight. I don't know what he's doing. And then I remember.
Oh no!
I remember it wasn't long after purple, man. It was
when I elbowed you.
Maybe,
Yeah,
but
when you had the bad eye shiner.
Yeah, yeah. Was that a purple?
I figured that's what you're. No, it was leading. It was leading up to it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
So this was after you guys' testing, and we had multiple. Because I typically try not to like I won't roll with you every class. I won't roll with Derek every class. I won't roll.
Yeah.
I try to kind of spread it out. You know.
I know, and I know that. I know that about you.
But we'd had a period where we had rolled, I don't know, 5, 6. It seemed like 10 classes in a row, and it got to the point. Control your ego. It got to the point that I was like, where's Dylan? Like, I was looking for you to roll with, which I don't really do. Usually it's like I'll try to it's been a couple days, I'll roll with that person. I'll roll. And it got to the point where I was like, I need to roll with Dylan. Where's Dylan? Like, oh, there he is. Come on. And I was making a point to roll with you because the roles turned from it felt like you were trying to prove something to let's do jujitsu.
And it's because I was. So I apologize to you. I apologize to everybody at my gym. Like, let me make amends right now. I really do. Man, a part of me still does enjoy rolling hard.
Yeah, sure.
Not every class, not every time.
Occasionally.
We used to have people here that I could, like with Steven, him and I could literally clash the Titans and go 10 on each other, and neither one of us would get hurt.
Right.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And a couple other guys that I don't want to mention their names, but I would look forward to rolling with them because I could go hard with them.
Yep.
And it was fun. And like I have to watch myself now. All those guys are gone. Like I don't have a favorite role.
Does that tell
right
you?
now.
Does that tell you anything? All those guys that you used to enjoy going really hard with are gone.
Yeah. And I don't know why. I mean. It is awkward and it sucks. Like I miss you guys.
Yeah.
I miss having some people that I could like do that with on occasion and not have to go pay $150 to.
But those
to
guys,
do it.
those same people, not with the exception of Steven, because I love you, but those same people were the people that wanted to go hard all the time with everybody.
Yeah, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
Because those were the guys that I had the most fun rolling with. Those were like the guys that I looked up to.
Yeah.
And in a way, so with you, I obviously, like, I look up to you, but I look up to you as an instructor.
Right.
Like, you're on a pedestal. I don't look at you as, like, somebody that I can be.
Right.
Those guys, I looked at them as, like, I can be these guys.
Right.
Like, when you got your purple belt, it didn't make me feel like I could get my purple belt.
Oh.
You're the boss. Of course you got but when Derek got it, it made it real to me.
You were like, this is achievable.
Right. So those guys that were going hard all the time, it was like, I can be like these guys. Like, I can actually be like them.
Yeah.
You know, of course, Carlton's going to take it easy at every roll and still kill everybody. He's the final boss. Like,
Right.
Of course he's going to be able to do that. Like, he's the head pastor
Right.
of this church. You know what I'm saying? So, like, but I do miss it sometimes, but I don't roll hard with anybody here anymore. And it's because, they don't want to. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that I don't enjoy rolling the other way. But I do miss it, and sometimes I wish that I didn't.
The older you get, the less you'll miss it.
Right, but there was I think leading up to Blue, I definitely feel like I did vamp it up, and maybe right after I did too a little bit, but I definitely don't care as much anymore as what I used to.
And your jiu-jitsu's gotten better.
Yeah, and I think so when you're rolling hard, like, and as a guy who I do enjoy rolling hard sometimes, but I will admit you don't get better when you roll hard.
Right.
I don't think that you do.
You get hardened, but you don't get better.
Your skill don't get better.
Yeah, at all.
You're get more conditioned
Yep.
to it. You do. You get more hardened. Like you can take the blows more. And so the guys that, I'm really flexible. So it's pretty hard to like bend me into a spot that you're going to break something like where I'm like medically injured. And so I can like roll hard and have like more longevity than some of the other guys.
Sure.
Like, the harder muscle, the stronger, like the power lifter guys, I don't think that they have, as much bounce as me.
Right.
And that might be part of the reason why they're gone. And that's something I just cooked up right now thinking about it. So I don't know that's something I'm going to kick around more in my head, but, I do miss it.
Yeah. There's a part of me that misses it until I go hard, and then I'm like, oh, dude, I'm going to feel that tomorrow. Like, I'm at a stage now where I truly feel like I have nothing left to prove, and it's every time I roll, it's because I have something very specific that I'm working on, and that's like the whole rebirth. That's that I was telling you about, that I truly believe it does start at black, because everything started over for me, and I was able to micromanage my movements, and I was able to dissect and go, whoa, as a black belt, I shouldn't do this, right? Or as a black belt, why am I giving them this? And it changed the way that I rolled, in a sense that, like, I no longer cared what people did to me, because I knew that you guys knew I was a black belt. So it was like, if they did something, it's okay. They still know I'm a black belt. It's okay. I'm not proving myself.
Yeah, and we know that it's a gift.
Right.
And I think I kind of always knew that, but it was still I definitely chased it.
Yeah.
I definitely, I wanted to have that, video game of, I beat my coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to chase that.
You want to know something funny?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to tell you this.
Oh, boy.
That heel hook you caught me in 2 weeks ago or a week ago.
Yeah, I remember it.
That was legit.
Yes. And so sometimes I feel like they are, but I never say when I think they are, because there's no way to project that humbly. Even if you intend to project that humbly, there's no way to project it humbly. So I just don't project it.
You got it. I tapped. And I can't. We literally, we didn't even start over. We just kept the same. And I remember I tapped, and I thought to myself, "You son of a bitch!" Why would my foot be right? And goes back to what I'm saying. I'll never put my foot there when we're in that position again, right? It's a very common position for the foot to be in. But when you did that, I thought, dude, you know better than that. So while in your head, you probably thought, well, thanks, dude. That was a nice gift. In my head, I was like, you're an idiot. Why did you just give him
and
that?
That's cool. I'm capitalizing off of a mistake, and a moral, a hidden moral in this, guys, is I beat my instructor after I stopped trying to beat my instructor. Years after,
because while you were going hard in the paint,
so are you.
Yeah, it's one of those
if you go as hard as I go, we say that here all the time.
I'm gonna match the pace.
No belts and white belts. If you're with a colored belt, you've probably heard it. I'm gonna go as hard as you go, bro. Yep. But it's not so. When I roll hard with a white belt, when it's I'll go as hard as you go, it's not the same as when I was going hard with Steven.
Right.
Or going hard with somebody else, because I already know I can beat you.
Right.
Of course I can beat you.
Right. I'm picking when I'm going to beat you.
And God forbid that I know I can beat you and you beat me. That's the worst feeling in the world, especially as a purple belt, to have some guy have a 12-year wrestler that's 300 pounds come in and actually beat you.
Yeah.
But if you go into that role and you just don't care, then when they beat you, you don't care.
You don't care.
And you're not even, you're not
playing.
lying to yourself to get over the loss. Yep. You genuinely don't care.
And you'll remember what happened, so you can fix it later. If you're going to war, you're not going to remember it. If you're you and I play, I know exactly where I went wrong. 4 seconds before I went wrong, I know exactly where I went wrong. If you and I were battling, I wouldn't have. You caught my foot. How'd you get my foot? Right? But because we always keep it playful now, and we do jujitsu rather than battle, you're able to identify that stuff. That's why it's a blur to white belts. because they're like the Tasmanian devil.
You guys are pushing every button on the controller in the Mortal Kombat trying to win.
Sometimes it looks like you're going to win, and sometimes you're just in the corner doing backflips, right? It's
Whether you win or lose, you have no idea how you did
and
it.
you're exhausted when you're done.
And you guys get injured more than anybody else.
Sure.
The most injuries of any belt here is white belts and no belts mixed,
Yep,
for sure.
For sure. All right, so we are just over an hour. We're an hour and 18 minutes in. Did you I know you brought questions.
We blew through my material.
Okay, so now it's my turn.
Okay.
Favorite memory so far, jiu-jitsu related?
Oh, man. Probably meeting Pedro for the first time, and it being very real that, the guy I watched on video that made me want to do this was training me and touching me and drilling moves on me, and also seeing the Rickson Gracie patches on Pedro's gi.
Yeah.
That made me feel so immersed in jiu-jitsu more than anything else ever has, because it's like I'm looking at my gi and like I got my CRowesNest, my Carlton Row patches, and Pedro's got his patches in the same place, but his say Rickson Gracie.
Right.
And now he's training me, and it's
nuts.
That was definitely a career highlight. I liked training with Rashad Evans was really fun too, especially because here we start on our knees, and we went to this Rashad Evans seminar. You weren't at this one. And Rashad comes in and he's like, all right, everybody, we're going to be doing takedowns today. And I'm like, oh no. And I looked at the white belt that I took with me and I was like, look, we're going to look like the biggest idiots out here tonight, but we're going to learn the most tonight. And Rashad was getting like visibly impatient with us.
Really?
Oh my God. He's like, guys, stand like you're trying to defend the takedown. Do that for your partner. And I looked at we looked at each other and we're like, there's a way to stand. Like,
what does that look like?
Yeah, like we don't know what to do. So I told, after the seminar was over, and he was coming over to us.
Yeah.
He's like, that's not what I told you to do. And I'm like, can you show me again, please? And then at the end of it, when we got pictures, I was like, hey, bro, like we come, and we were the only people at the seminar wearing a gi. And I'm like, bro, we come from a gi school. We started on our knees. And he started laughing, and he gave me a hug.
Yeah.
And I told him what I told him. I'm like, yeah, I told him, I'm like, we're going to look like the biggest idiots, but we're going to learn the most. And he's like, yeah. He's like, okay. He's like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that epiphany moment, that was good too. I liked training with Gordon. That was a career highlight. Getting my purple belt was a career highlight. Getting a purple belt from Keith Owen, definitely a highlight for sure. And more to come.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just getting started, dude. You're technically you're halfway through.
Yeah.
You're right there. So, well, actually, 2 stripe blues halfway through because we have a green belt, but you're beyond halfway. Yeah.
I didn't feel like I still don't really feel like I'm halfway, but I mean that just goes back to me. I think not wanting to be hollow belted and not wanting to chase it. Like I don't want to feel like I'm halfway to a black belt. I just want to feel like I'm a jiu-jitsu guy.
You're just doing jiu-jitsu.
I'm just
doing jiu-jitsu.
I'm just a jiu-jitsu ninja. That's
What's
all.
your favorite move?
Oh, so I still really like a cobra choke a lot, just because
Nice.
I got skinny wrists, skinny hands. I'm one of the few people that can make it work. So I've gotten it in tournaments and stuff.
Nice. That's a good choke.
Yeah,
Real good choke.
For my body, it's a good move.
Yeah. What is your biggest pet peeve about jiu-jitsu?
Rolling with somebody who is smaller and stronger than me.
Yeah.
Because I can't fit inside them. I try to use my distance, but they can power through it. I can't use leverage because they have shorter limbs.
Yeah. Better frames, stronger. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem. It's not that someone smaller than me is beating me. It's just literally just the science of it.
Mm-hmm.
How do I overcome something that is, I can't get on the inside and win because I'm so long and I can't overpower
Can't
them
be
from
sneaky
the
about
outside.
it.
Yeah, like in kickboxing, it's really cool to go against those people
Yeah,
because
right.
they can't hit me,
Those are
but
my
on
favorite.
the ground it sucks.
What is your favorite quote in jiu-jitsu if you have one?
Definitely, I'm a shark, and the ground is my ocean, and most people can't even swim.
Yeah,
and
that's a
Hicks
good
and Gracie.
That's a deep one. This one's been my favorite since I had heard it, and that is and it's cliche as shit. I get it. That's why we're doing this, because all quotes are cliche. Is that there's no winning or losing. There's only winning and learning.
Yeah,
I
right.
love that one because we learn down here every night.
And do you know where that one came from?
I think it's
Definitely a Gracie, but I don't know what one.
it's actually, I have it on the wall over there, and the quote that it came from, it's actually quoted. So after this, we'll look and see who it came from.
Right on.
But it's a fantastic quote, and it speaks volumes to people who train jiu-jitsu over a long period of time.
Or any martial art.
Yeah, you can't come to class looking to win. And if when you go to compete, there's always something to take home from that, even if you lose. So it's just, I don't know, I love that one. I've always loved it. There's so many great quotes, but that one's that's why it's over there on the wall.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to remind people. Okay, so gi or no gi?
Still no gi.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
I think it's because I'm flexible. I think it's because I still over rely on move thyself.
Gotcha.
Way easier for me to move thyself in no gi than in a gi.
Sure.
I love the gi. Like, I have fell in love with the gi. Like, I used to resist it and I hated it when I first wore it. I like it now. And we live in Michigan, where it's cold all the time. Like, probably 3 months out of the year it's hot, and in those 3 months out of the year, if the sun's down, it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
So you're always wearing a jacket.
Mm-hmm.
If you're wearing a hoodie, you're wearing a gi. If you're wearing a jacket, you're wearing a gi.
Yep.
If you're wearing a flannel, you're wearing a gi. So it's ridiculous to not and know how to use it. And it's like, gi jiu-jitsu is like sword fighting, and no gi jiu-jitsu is like sword fighting without the sword.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still have more fun doing no gi, I think, personally.
Yeah. I mean, I asked Derek the same question on the last one, or the episode, I don't know, a couple episodes ago. And I was surprised because he was like the same way. He didn't say he liked no gi better, but he was very open. He's like, I don't mind no gi. I enjoy no. I am to the point in my training, because I started gi way later than I should have. I did a small stint in gi and hated it, then went no gi for 6-7 years, and then went back to the gi. So by the time I got back in the gi, I was playing makeup. I felt like I was trying to catch back up to where I should be. So I'm still thoroughly just invested in the gi. It bothers me when people take the gi off. I don't have handles.
Yeah, I know you don't like it.
Oh, come here.
And that was a weapon. I used to use that against you when I was trying to beat you.
Yeah.
I'd be like, can we go no gi? And I would do better.
Yeah.
Better. I wouldn't win, but I'd do better.
Yeah.
Like, because it took you a while to adjust.
Right.
And then once you adjusted, you kicked my butt. But
it's been it's funny because the gi used to be my downfall, but now, man, you want to see me stutter.
right.
Take your gi top off. Watch what happens to me. And that's sad because I'm a black belt.
But you have enough. I mean, it comes back. You can defend yourself clunkily until it comes back.
Still be okay.
And then you're fine.
Yeah, I just prefer the gi.
I think I'm the only person here with color on their belt that has that opinion.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
But if I never roll no gi ever again and I'm in the gi the rest of my life, that's perfectly fine by me.
Yeah.
Don't
It's
care.
one of those.
And I thought about asking you if I could do no gi classes, but nobody here wants to do them.
All right, last question. What are you looking forward to next?
Man, I don't know, really, because I'm not. I mean, I believe I will be a black belt before I die, which means I'll be a brown belt before I die. But I really don't know if I'm looking forward to those, just because I don't put a lot of stuff on them. Man, and this is blissful too. Like I don't answer this with misery, saying I don't know what's next. I answer it in bliss.
So the next class.
Right. Exactly. The next.
Looking forward to the next.
My
class.
next class is really. I mean, and
That's the way it should be.
I'm at peace. I am so at peace with that. Yeah. As a white belt, I would have blue belt.
Oh, you had so many.
And as a blue belt, I wanted my purple belt. Yeah. I want my purple belt right now, like today. But now, man, I
that
feel,
funny?
I kind of feel like I've made it already.
Yeah, right? Statistically, you have.
Right. But like, I want to watch myself still, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that really. Maybe next time I see Pedro. I think I'm looking forward to the next time I train with Pedro
Sure.
more than probably anything else.
Yeah, that's because it's always a good time.
And I think that's a guarantee. Like I believe, I believe that that'll happen again.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, God willing, I don't know why he wouldn't come back here, and I'm certainly willing to travel for him.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, dude, listen. I think we're at about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's my pleasure.
You came to me a couple of weeks ago, said you wanted to do this, and I was like, I had no clue.
Right. Well, I didn't want to intrude if it was an invite only thing.
No,
so.
I'm doing one with Jared on Sunday this week, so I'm probably going to leave this. You're going to see all this stuff out tomorrow for class. I'm just going to mop around.
So we'll be over there.
We'll be over there. But I appreciate it. Dude, it's been a pleasure. It's I've watched you grow a lot in the time that you've been here.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Coach.
it's truly, when you walk through the door when we have class, it's like, oh shit, Dylan's here. It's gonna be a good night. Like I enjoy when you're here. So, and I typically enjoy when everybody's here, but there are gonna be more people that I'm like, oh yeah. Like, especially if I know somebody's not coming, and depending on what I'm gonna show, I'm gonna be like, that's gonna be my uke for the night. Because you understand how to move, you understand without me telling you how to respond,
And I'm blessed, very blessed to hear that. I remember being a kid and not having the money to come out and train back when this was an MMA gym. And I was just young enough to kind of miss the cusp on all that. Like, I would have been too young to fight anyway. But I seen a post, and I'm definitely not going to name drop, but it was like a picture of like the CRowesNest guys. Like the first generation CRowesNest guys, or not the first not like the golden days of doing like nogi stuff in Chicago, but like the MMA age. So I guess the second gen CRowesNest guys.
Yep.
And it was like the caption was like, it's us and the like the pillars, like the 4 pillars of the gym basically. And those were the guys, and they're in the comments talking, and it's like, I wish, that I could have been one of those guys. And when I hear you saying that, it's like I feel like I've became one. But and this is definitely like, I'm a 3rd generation CRowesNest guy. I'm from the gi phase, but it still feels good to be one of the faces of it.
For sure, you're all over the wall. You're over there. Yeah, for sure, dude. You've made this your home, and we enjoy you being here. So. This won't be the last time we get together and talk. I'm sure we'll do it more. But I appreciate it. It's like 13 degrees outside, so let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, right on.
All right, buddy.